weigh in on the Kardashian flap this morning.
No, we're not going to inflict the sideshow on you, General.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. So you were here last week.
Well, you're seeing more people jump on the Trump train, so this is a good thing. It's a good sign.
Well, as a Trump
We're going to leave it there. Whoa.
Yeah, hey.
Well, as a Trump surrogate, I mean, what are you looking for Monday night? Terrorism, obviously, going to be a big focus. Foreign policy, a big focus. We had Sebastian Gorka on the show earlier, Jillian Turner saying, you know, we haven't seen an ISIS policy plan yet from Donald Trump on how to defeat ISIS. Will Donald Trump lay out a clear plan on how to defeat ISIS? Yeah, I mean, the big difference between Donald Trump and what Hillary Clinton is proposing is with Donald Trump, you actually win the war against radical Islam. And with Hillary Clinton, you continue to participate in this never-ending conflict with no end. So Donald Trump, about 5 weeks ago now, if I remember right, he gave a great speech on essentially countering radical Islamism. And he laid out 4 components. He laid out a military component, a financial component, cyber, where we have to get much more aggressive in the world of cyber, and also the countering the ideology. So those 4 sort of strategic components are the essence of what Donald Trump has stated in terms of what it is to defeat radical Islamism. The problem today that we have is this enemy is no longer just over there. They're here, as we have recently seen. So we have a problem right here in the homeland with the rise of radical Islamism. And, you know, and we saw that, you know, in spades here this last
Yeah, that's what
week.
A lot of voters are concerned about. Even last weekend we saw that happen here. And we're learning more about the Chelsea bomber. Ahmad Khan Rahami, he began posting apparently radical videos back in 2010. He went to Syria, and he's just the latest terrorist. When you look back to have fallen off the Fed's radar list, you look at the terrorist in Orlando, apparently had met with the FBI 3 different times. One of the Tsarnaev brothers was on their radar 2 years before that. This is what people are concerned about. How did that go missing? Yeah, well, first of all, just to give your listeners a little bit of a comparison, there are about roughly 17,000 federal agents in the FBI. There's 34,000 police officers here in the city of New York. So if the director of the FBI is right when he says we have 1,000 cases on radical Islamism or ISIS-inspired cases in this country alone, in all 50 states, then we have an imbalance in our resources, and we have a problem working between the federal, state, and local levels. There is a clear breakdown somewhere. So we have to take a hard look at how we're taking care of our own homeland security, how we're working together, how we're cooperating from the federal down to the local level. And actually, I believe that we have to give more authority or more leverage to our state and local level and allow them to do the things that they know that they need to do.
So one of the reasons that we're seeing so many attacks here in the United States is because we have been importing wholesale tens of thousands of people who hate us. Trump made that point. The establishment attacked him. They furiously went crazy. They hated that. Will he say something similar to that in the debate Monday night?
Yeah, we'll see what he has to say in the debate. But this idea of bringing in refugees into this country. I mean, the guy that did the stabbings up in Minnesota is a Somali refugee, I understand.
Yes.
So so we have a problem. And if we're going to talk about bringing in another 100,000 or up to 100,000 refugees from countries like Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, maybe Somalia. I mean, I got all the issues about young children and women, but we don't understand who these people are. The FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice have all said, hey, we can't vet this thing 100%. It's not a 100% foolproof system. So let's stop and figure out, if we're going to do this, how do we get there? How are we able to do that? In the meantime, I kind of say, hey, look, what's going on in the Muslim world, what's going on in particularly the Arab world, where are the leaders there, and what are they doing to help this problem out? We have to take them to task as well.
Speaking of the FBI, I want to get your take on what happened last night, another Friday document dump when people are out to dinner and at the movies and not paying much attention. We now learn that the president may have used a pseudonym in communicating with Hillary Clinton while she was Secretary of State on her own private server. Of course, this contradicts what we heard back a number of months ago when President Obama on CBS said this about when he learned about the private email. Take a listen.
Mr. President, when did you first learn that Hillary Clinton used an email system outside the U.S. government for official business while she was Secretary of State?
At the same time, everybody else learned it through news reports.
So news reports, not when I was communicating using a pseudonym with her. What do you make of that?
I mean, the level of dishonesty I mean, this is what the American public are sick of. They're sick of the lying, and they're sick of the dishonesty. They're sick of this perpetuation of fraud within the federal government. The breakdown between trust, you know, from those in Washington, D.C. and the rest of those in America is stunning. And that trust is why I believe that there's millions and millions of Americans that are joining to you know, sort of get on with Donald Trump to become the next president of the United States, because we can't have this. We cannot have this any longer, and we can't have people that are dancing around political correct terms any longer. We have got to come to grips with basically rebuilding the trust between the American public and the White House.
You know, when I get out
and that includes the Secretary of State, or the State Department, includes the Department of Defense. I mean, there's so much at stake here in this election.
Absolutely. When I go out and cover some of the Trump rallies and events, I ask the supporters, you know, what do you like about Trump? And that is really the one thing that I continue to hear is, I don't agree with everything that he has to say, but he is so different from so many politicians that we have known over the years, and we want something so different at this point. He's going to have to hammer that out as well on Monday night to remind people of why he is different, and maybe even bring up the email scandal. How does he do that in a way that he looks presidential still?
Well, I mean, I hope that if the commentators are going to be honest, they should be bringing it up. They should be asking these tough questions, because this is a big issue, because it gets to the issue of honesty. And you know, I would, you know, say one thing on temperament, because temperament always keeps coming up. Temperament, Donald Trump, I've known Donald Trump now for some time. I've had a lot of time with him. His temperament is a temperament of winning. And that's what, you know, when people look at temperament, hey, I'm showing temperament now, but my temperament is about resolve and determination. Donald Trump, his temperament is very similar, and it's also about winning. This is not about, you know, the issue of, you know, what it is we're going to do, or we're going to wring our hands. I mean, the folks in the sort of the Clinton machine, and what we're seeing right now, because they're falling behind rapidly, you see all this hand-wringing, and I just see that this campaign between now and the end of up until the election is going to get ugly.
Really quickly, we're facing a ton of threats. People are afraid. The administration is now telling us that one of the most important things we can do is to integrate transgenders into our combat troops. You spent a life in uniform. Is that going to make us a ton safer? Yeah,
well, here's what I would say about that. The LGBT community, if they, you know, we are a standards-based organization in the military. If they can meet the standards, I don't have any issues with it at all. What we can't do is make diversity our #1 priority. Defense should be our #1 priority.
Well said.
General, great to see you.
Well said.
Thanks, General.